fans and listeners, you have a brand new episode of Watch Skip Plus. We want to be your go-to source for insightful and pop-cultured movie reviews. My name is Cupcake, also known as Jose. I'm joined by my co-host, Mike, also known as the WillDaBeast. If you have not noticed from the titles, this is the spoilered movie breakdown discussion of They Will Kill You, directed by Kirill Sokolov, Russian director, and starring Zazie Beetz, Heather Graham, Tom Felton, Patricia Arquette, all these fantastic people. So if you have not heard our spoiler-free review, which you know we always drop on a Friday and then this comes out on a Sunday, you're going to want to check that out first because we're going to spoil the Zazie Beetz out of it. So let's talk about the fight sequences, though. I was not prepared for the fact that the action choreography was going to be really, really good on this.
Yeah.
I mean, it reminded me of like Hong Kong, Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung stuff. But, you know, did you have a favorite action sequence? I know you had discussed in the spoiler free that right off the bat, we get a really great action sequence in the hotel.
My favorite action sequence is the burning axe in the dark.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And then she throws this table and then jumps behind the table. So he blasts the table with shotgun and then it snaps in half and she comes down and slices a dude straight in half with a burning axe. That was just fucking brilliant.
Incredible. It was great. That first action sequence in the hotel room where, you know, these people are cloaked and they have like these pig masks on. The guy licks her feet and then they're coming out of like these secret like entrances or whatever. That first sequence is so good. I mean, there are some like ratchet stunts where a stuntman is being pulled by a wire.
Oh, yeah.
Like into the wall or something that are just, they're impactful and crazy. But just when I thought, okay, if the whole movie is going to be that, it's going to get a little boring, right? We get that fire axe thing, that fire axe scene where she's like slicing the people up. There's a great sequence where they're chasing each other through the air ducts of the hotel room. And then the ending where I love that it's a film about Satanism and hell. And in the end, they're ushered into this room where like everything's like frozen in some ways. There's ice there. And like, you know, it's crazy. I loved the sequences in this.
Hell freezes over is what that was kind of funny.
I know. Actually, you know what? Scooter said that too.
Yeah.
He leaned over and he was like, hell freezes over or whatever, which is great. So in this plot, and I have to tell you that the narrative structure of this very much mimics both Why Don't You Just Die and then the other film that Sokolov subsequently did, No Looking Back. But what happens is we get dropped in the middle of the story. So this feels very much like Big Trouble in Little China, right? You sort of have to catch up. Yeah. And there's definitely a lot of Pulp Fiction rolling back and finding out stuff.
I was wondering about those flashbacks. Did that bother you like I know those normally do?
So they normally bother me, but I was prepared for it because I know that that's what Sokolov does, right? Okay. And that's sort of a device that Tarantino does, that Scorsese has done, Park Chan-wook has done. So basically what we come to find out in the beginning of the film is that, and I thought it was her daughter, but it's her sister. So Zazie Beetz and her sister are running. We think it's like an abusive husband. It turns out to be an abusive father. Beetz ends up running away, and then the daughter, the sister, shoots him and runs away. The sister is unfortunately left with this person, and then we flash forward, and I didn't mention, but Angus Sampson is in this from like the Insidious films, but he's an investigator who has tracked down the fact that her sister is now at this hotel called the Virgil. And what we come to find out about the Virgil is that not only is it, chock full of like rich people, this is where they live, but these rich people worship the devil and they have now become immortal. Mm-hmm. What did you think when all of this finally comes out and the sister apparently has made this deal, right? Mm-hmm. But what did you think about the sort of supernatural overtones and the fact that this goes well beyond just a normal vengeance story.
I wasn't ready for it. Again, I didn't see the trailer really. It just caught me off guard. Right off the bat, I'm like, oh shit, she's just killing. There goes Heather Graham. There goes Felton. Wow, this movie's got guts. They're killing these fuckers off. And the next thing you know, 10 minutes later, 5 minutes later in the movie, those characters who we saw get killed come walking out. And the best part is Felton's holding his head and he's
holding his head. Yeah.
And then he ends up putting it back on and you see it. It's pretty cool. Like the CGI again, it reminds me a lot of what Borcola does. Eastern European. If you've seen these kind of films like Wanted, there's this almost cartoony but realistic plasticity to some of this effects, which I liked.
Yeah.
And the way that his neck reconnects was really cool. And I was like, oh, okay. So she's just got to kill these motherfuckers over and over and over again. It slows them down long enough for their body to rejuvenate. I thought that was pretty damn cool. Now, there was a guy who was next to me who walked out who thought that was lame as hell. And I get it. Not, like we said, this isn't going to work for everybody. It did work for me. Gangbusters, because I loved that shit. I loved it. There's a part where they blow Heather Graham's face off and there's like a bloody stump of it. And this is, I kind of alluded to the eyeball scene from that, where Heather Graham's eyeball basically is like rolling, and it's a practical effect of the eyeball just rolling, like moving like the hand from Addams Family. I just laughed and giggled every time I saw that eye.
It fucking ping-ponged itself up the ducts and then ends up in there.
Cords from the brain, like glued to the side and ricochet, whatever. That was hilariously silly to me. I had a lot of fun with the silly nature of this. Again, I think that's where the mixed reviews are coming. Some folks are finding this a bit too silly, too over the top. They have not seen enough Eastern European action films to understand the vibe.
Or even Raimi.
Wanted. Come on, you've seen Wanted, you've seen Raimi. You've seen these movies to know that reality is not important. We're here to have a good time, and style over substance works here. And that's what we got. That great gore scene with that head, and then there's just that stump, and it's like chasing really fast, like you said. They were in that tunnel.
I love it.
Man, that shit was fun. It was exciting.
But I can see why people would automatically check out at that point. But what's great about the film is that's after we get that, it goes even further and sort of one-ups itself. So basically what it is they worship the devil and they're immortal, so they cannot be killed. But what we find out is that in order to be immortal, they have to sacrifice a life. So this is the deal that they make with the devil. You sacrifice a life for your immortal life, and then your name gets put on the list. And then later in the film, what we find out is that when she reunites with the sister has made this deal. And the reason why was she was supposed to be a sacrifice, just like her sister is. So when she arrives there, she assumes the identity of this maid. But what we find out later is that the maid is supposed to be the sister's victim, so the sister can become immortal. But, and this is what Mike sort of had alluded to, is at the end when we meet basically the big baddie, the devil himself, essentially, Old Scratch, we find out that the list is actually names written on a severed pig head.
Sticking on a stick.
Stuck on a spike, right? That they conjure the devil. I thought it was kind of cool that he's like behind the thing looking all like, the Night on Bald Mountain sequence from Fantasia.
Exactly, from Fantasia. Whatever. He comes and you see him take over the pig head and then begins to speak through the pig. I thought that was hilarious. I've seen some reviews of people who've said that's when they checked out. They were in it 100% till that happened. And the CGI in it, yes. I mean, the severed head eventually ends up coming off and attaching itself to Patricia Arquette.
Oh my God, that was incredible.
I thought that was a blast. I thought it was funny. I thought it was fast paced. It was gory. I enjoyed the hell out of it.
And then they end up doing like a sword fight and like flipping through the air like wushu
Yeah.
Hong Kong style. So cool.
Again, I don't know the logic of writing your name on a pig and then pouring bleach on it to erase it and cutting one slice of it to keep the name or whatever. That stuff is all silly. The plot, again, you can't get caught up in the writing. This is not like the most well-written film as far as dialogue or logical sense. You have to go into this for the style, to see somebody riff on things that he likes, that most of us like. If you like the old boy, you like Kill Bill, all these other things we talked about in the other film, you're going to enjoy this. And then these added bits of, again, like the babysitter, once it starts to turn that paranormal stuff or into the more like sensational things, that's when you're like, oh, this is not just people die and getting killed. This is much more than that. And that's what kind of elevated it for me. I know it took it away for some people. They thought that just made it cartoony or whatever, but once we're like realized that how is she getting out of here? This place is like a tomb. It's made to not allow you to get out. Again, the John Wickian nature of this hotel, total ripoff again, but I giggled about it. It's just like you're watching almost like a parody of all these type of things, but at the same time, it's not. It's just very self-referential. It's kind of like Return of the Living Dead compared to Night of the Living Dead, but they work so well. Like you think this is just a parody, but in reality, it was supposed to be a direct sequel to Night of the Living Dead, just much lighter, kind of like the sequel to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is how this feels. It's just very out there and in your face.
Yeah, it has such an energy to it, which is it's fantastic. And so, with the names, basically, you will become human again if your name is taken off the list.
Erased.
And so what we also find out is that every now and then they deign to choose an underling, a minority person who's a maid, and elevate them. And so that, I guess that's their idea of donating to the poor, I guess, because really what the film is about, and I discussed this in the spoiler-free episode, is that there's this kind of undercurrent of, people in power who abuse that. And more importantly, they use and take advantage of people underneath them in their class, right? So in the story, Patricia Arquette is married to a black man who we meet in the beginning of the film. And it's that man that ends up helping Zazie Beetz because he's tired of seeing people get sacrificed. And there's a really key scene where the two of them are talking where he says, remember when we first started in this neighborhood and it was horrible and there was all this crime happening, right? But he's like, but then we just kept going and we just kept taking the minorities and sacrificing them instead of like the rich and the white or whatever. And so there's this whole thing where, after that scene with the fire axe, the guy is like, no, don't kill me. If you get to know me, I'm actually really a nice person. And it's kind of like, but what you do as a Satanist, as a rich person, taking advantage of these people and killing people indiscriminately, like that will not override the fact that that's what you do. Like, even if you were quote unquote a good person. So there's that interesting kind of theme there, Well,
we see that right now in real life, right? Like basically this is an interracial couple who got together in the early 1900s, been around for 100 years, and they had to hide their love. And now, they were able to be together forever and they were able to solidify their love.
And she's all powerful. She
all
elevated.
Powerful. And now she's forgotten that love and she's allowed this, her need to keep the family together, this group of Satanists together, and continually sacrificing over, realizing her husband was over this. But again, it goes into that whole Get Out territory of using minorities and wanting to be like them or with them, but at the same time not giving a shit about them. So it was very interesting that it took that turn. I was not expecting that in the end. So kudos for the film kind of taking us again in places I didn't expect.
Yeah. great visual sequences. There's that scene where they're crawling up the duct, and it's you see the two of them, and that's all that's in the screen is that duct.
Mm-hmm.
Just the inventive way that the camera moves and the colors and the cinematography. It's both familiar and kind of European all at the same time. And I forgot to mention this too. Like, John Wick was such a big force in terms of there were all those other John Wick clones. I mean, this is kind of the same thing, right? You can have John Wick clones that are actually enjoyable to watch, right?
I mean, at its core, this is a revenge film. She's getting revenge. She thinks her sister has been taken and killed by the rich people in this tower. She gets out of jail after shooting her abusive father. And then 10 years later, she gets out of jail and goes to find her sister, finds out that she went to this hotel and disappeared. And so that's the basics. That's all you need to know. And then the ass kicking comes and the revenge stuff. But then it does dive into that where they do keep taking these poor people. I mean, she ran away from her father. He died and she just escaped and just went from job to job. You could tell in the little flashback that she was living a rough life. And that's what they do. They use their power. They give you a little gift. Here you go. And then in the end, they use them and abuse them and trap them and make that hotel their, kind of place to die. And so I like that. Go back to American Horror Story Hotel. I know you hate that. It reminded me of that, which is one of the better seasons of, if you like that show. I know
is it really one of the better seasons?
I think so. I know it's what people checked out. I love the Lady Gaga and the gore of it and the silliness of it all. But again, that's not for you.
But with the sister, what we find out is that, she's scrubbing the most disgustingly set up toilet with like shit everywhere. And the guy is like, well, I could help you out if you do something for me. And so she meets him at a hotel, presumably to have sex with this guy, and then that's when she sees the Virgil thing. But this is another great point of difference of the screenplay, which is when Zazie and her reunite, there's this whole great scene where she's like, I needed you back then. I needed you like as a kid when I was being abused. I don't need you now. Right. Of course, then it comes out that she's made this deal, but she's still very much like, I don't need you now. And there's this amazing kitchen sequence fight too, which is really, really great with the big sexy bear guy. And the sister is kind of like, I can't watch you die, even though this is what I wanted to do. Right. We're going to talk about this ending. So the deal was the sister gets immortality if she kills the maid whose identity the sister has taken over.
So basically she has to kill her sister to either she's going to die or she's going to become immortal by, I don't know, what do they say, midnight or before the sun
something
comes
by
up?
sundown, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever the rules were. But so what happens is, and I don't know how this happens, but with a machete, Zazie Beetz is apparently clever enough to remove her sister's name.
Cuts it off of
or her own name. So what happens the sister needs to die, and then the younger sister goes to write her name on the pig's head, but she writes Zazie Beetz' name on the head. And then unfortunately the sister does die. And so she cuts the skin portion off of the pig's head that has her name, Asia Reeves. She kills everybody. And then in a very weird circumvention of this devil pact, she rewrites the name Maria over Asia, which is, I was like, how does that work? And then the sister comes back to life, right? And so we get treated to this creepy scene where she's got the skin tag and it's like moving or whatever, and she has it. So what a strange ending, right?
Yeah,
and then they
just drive off.
Yeah. That's it with Angus Sampson. I don't know. Very, very weird, but I loved it. I want to see more from Kirill Sokolov.
Yeah. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I think that it's not a huge hit, right? It's not a flop though by any means. It still made like 6 or 7 million on its first weekend, and maybe it'll get to 15 million domestic. I think it was a $20 million.
It's a $20 million budget. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
unless it gets big money in the European market, this might just be
I think it's going to kill overseas.
I hope it does, because that could bring
us
a sequel, because that's kind of what happened with Ready or Not, right? It wasn't a huge success, but it was enough with overall global, which, maybe we could get a sequel. I would be down for more of this. I would be down for more of this world, seeing them get trapped with another group of Satanists or whatever, something down the line. This could be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it could be like, instead of Nazis, Satanists. But one other scene that really got me, and this just kind of shows the sort of Raimi-esque sensibility of the film, is that so when the Immortals get hurt, they just need time to grow back. So Heather Graham's head has been blown up and destroyed. The eye comes out, and she shows up later in the scene looking like the fucking shrunken head from Beetlejuice.
It's slowly growing her head back.
And it's slowly growing back. And the Arquette's husband is like, "Oh, you look better this way." And she just kind of like gives him the look, but she's got the little tiny. It's so good. So good. Anything else to talk about with the film?
Just be prepared for a lot of bloody, gory, good times if you haven't seen it. If you have, let us know what you think about it. Did you enjoy it? Did it bother you? Leave us a message in the comments. Send us an email, watchskipplus@gmail.com.
Thoughts?
Your thoughts.
Totally. And one other thing I also wanted to mention was, I was like, this is a hard R with
really
all of the shit that's going on. It's a really hard R. But then I think of two things. I think of the fact that with Kill Bill, when we got to the House of the Blue Leaves sequence, the MPAA was like, we're not doing this. We're giving you a fucking NC-17. Mm-hmm. And so they resubmitted it black and white. Because when you don't see all of that blood, it's not as intense was the MPAA's feeling, which is bullshit, right? And then the other thing I think of is the controversy over The Matrix, about how, they're in this virtual reality. All these people are dying. They're getting shot up. They're being kicked in the head or whatever. And when I thought about those two things, I thought, oh, well, they're immortal. They can't die. That's why it's okay that we can just cut your fucking leg off and do all these things. And so I guess with that kind of license, it works if you think of it that way, right? NPCs getting like shot off, or killed.
Oh, and we can't forget about the whole the fuck floor. Like, we almost forgot about the fuck floor.
God, yes.
Almost the creepy, like, Epstein, like, entrapping these girls, because there's a scene, like, basically, like you said, that a guy in a pig mask licks her face and she wakes up, luckily.
Her feet.
Her feet, yeah. And then luckily she wakes up, but then we find out when she gets knocked out that, why did he show up early? Why did he do that? Well, he shows up to fuck him. And then you find out this fuck for, again, they're entrapping these people and they're putting them into this orgy. It was another way of winking at the ultra elite, and it brings you to that whole Epstein sex.
And how they abuse power.
Oh my gosh, it's nasty.
Yeah.
So there's it really does go there. It really does go there in ways that I was not ready for. You only get a little glance of the orgy fuck floor scene, but it was pretty sexy.
Yeah, it was enough.
That was enough.
I was kind of hoping the eyeball would fall through the grate into the fuck floor and would have to roll its way out. But
I was hoping we were going to get more, because they basically explained that each floor is there for a different fetish and
different vices. Yeah. And I was like, what vice?
I mean, they do show
for?
This big, beautiful, like, dining room, and that's for gluttony, for people who just want to eat. So, and then of course there's a whole S&M floor where, they're getting dirty and nasty and leathery in there. So we saw little things, but it would have been fun to explore more. Again, a la The Raid, it felt like they were trying to get up to get out, just like The Raid.
Yeah, very, very cool.
Fun stuff.
Okay, well, we do our pod roll in the spoiler-free, but obviously our pod father is Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema, Not a Bomb, and then the OGs of the Night of Living podcast, and of course our YouTube brothers, so check them out. I think you said that next week we are doing...
you either doing Super Mario, which is going to make $1 billion, or the drama from A24. But I think we should do the drama.
I think we should. That's the Pattinson Zendaya, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
For those of you who say that we only do genre movies, let's do
we're doing the drama instead of the Super Mario. Although I think you and I are both going to end up seeing it anyway.
I'm taking the kids either way.
Yeah,
but
of course.
For our audience, we'll review the drama. Maybe it'll be like last year's Materials. Maybe we'll both love it. Be like, this is awesome.
Oh my God, people hate that movie. People are going to hate the Materials.
Really? Do they hate it? We loved it. I thought people generally liked it.
I loved it, but a lot of my friends and coworkers who watched it, they were like, "This is so bad. Like, I hate this." But yeah, we are not becoming a horror podcast. Hey, folks, friends and listeners, what happened? You were supposed to program the rest of our year.
We haven't gotten a message.
Start dropping comments, please do so. So anyway,
you can find me, Mike Wilden, on Facebook. You know, we're out there. The website. You can email us on all this, most of the social medias. No, hopefully not on all of them, but we're on most of them. You're finding us on Truth Social, but we are on most of the social medias. No, we're not. So find us, message us, find either of our personal information, you know, our personal whatevers are out there. Email us, message us, however you want to get a hold of us, and we will program. I'd love to get some recommendations, because otherwise we're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants and deciding what we're going to
Which we love. That's what we do. Much like Gwendolyn in The Perils of Gwendolyn, we fly by the seat of our pants, or no pants, as it were. So anyway, all right. As always, folks, be kind, be open, be vulnerable. That's where the art is. And we'll see you on the other side.
We'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.